Hello, everyone, and welcome to Studio 23. My name is Curtis, and we're kicking things off with a story that's anything but ordinary. Today, we're sitting down with a man whose journey through law and business is as bold as it is inspiring. My guest today is Yousif Ahmed Esquire. He's an award winning international lawyer and entrepreneur. He's got interests across law, business, and sport, and has a very impressive professional background. And is also a very interesting one too. Yousif has done what very few have dared to do. He built a thriving legal practice in one of the world's most competitive markets, the Middle East. From the boardrooms of Scotland to the fast-paced business of the world of Dubai. His journey has been filled with high-stakes decisions, game-changing moments, and lessons in adaptability and resilience. Please welcome Yousif. How are you, sir?
Hey Curtis, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Did you like the introduction?
That was some introduction, I must say.
Thank you very much.
I'm flattered.
And how are you today?
I'm doing good, yeah. Yourself?
Yeah, absolutely wonderful. Wonderful to have you. It's
Brilliant.
great to have yourself along as well. It was not too long ago that we had your partner AJ in the studio, so it's nice to have you back in again, but this time on your own.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to be here, and always good to meet with you, catch up with you, and good to be back in Studio 23 with you. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Brilliant. And today we're going to dig a wee bit deeper into who Yousif is, and then maybe we'll touch upon how Tots United came to be from obviously your side of things. So I think first of all, what we want to do is we want to find out about Yousif. How did your journey of becoming a lawyer start? How did it become?
Great question to start off with, and what I would say at the outset is that the plan was never to become a lawyer.
Really?
It was to become a footballer, and that's what my dad kind of pushed me towards very strongly from a very early age. So from age 5 onwards, it was football training, football camps, and then he kind of put me into clubs as well, and that was always his aim and objective, was to try and encourage me towards that line of work, becoming a footballer. And throughout my younger years, played with some notable football clubs, Celtic, Hibs, Queen's Park, where I was the captain for a few seasons. And, that was the plan initially. In addition, I also went to a sports school for my secondary schooling. Again, my dad encouraged me to attend there, and there was a selection process for that. Got through the trials, and then was enrolled at the Glasgow School of Sport.
Fantastic.
And that was for badminton, but the idea was to use that to supplement the football side of things. And so yeah, it was all focused on sport for a long time to begin with, and then into my teenage years continued playing professional youth football. But then towards the end of my teenage years, I just didn't get the break that I needed, and it's a bit
Never
like,
really got to the next step.
that's it. Yeah, and it's a bit like you could have all the qualifications and that you need for a job, but ultimately you need somebody to open the door for you and give you that break. And with the football, I never got that. And I don't think the way that I was as a player, I was quite slim and slender. It wasn't suited to the Scottish game.
Yeah.
And I always remember a famous quote, I think it was from Billy Stark, football manager in Scotland. And I think he said, he's alleged to have said or whatever, that Lionel Messi might have struggled to make it in Scotland. And I think the quote, what he was alluding to was, Lionel Messi's physique.
Yes.
When
Because he didn't have the best of starts in his career.
That's
obviously.
right. He had to take, I think, hormone therapy.
Sorry, growth sort of hormone. Yeah.
The growth therapy or whatever it was, yeah. So he didn't, have that kind of typical footballer's physique. And anyway, that was kind of similar with me. It just didn't have the physique suited to the Scottish game, which at that time I found it was all about like brute force, brute strength, get into him and that sort of thing. Yep. And I was quite technical. I was slim, I was slender. So, I wasn't suited to the game in that way. And ultimately I didn't get the break into professional top flight that I might have liked to have had. Mm-hmm. And as a result, I kind of had to explore other options, and that kind of paved the way for considering a legal career. which was an option at the time. And that's how that kind of route opened up.
And was anybody in your family a lawyer of some sort? Did they come from that sort of background that was what got you interested? Maybe not the first thing that you had to your mind, the football was the first thing, but was that, did you take kind of a wee bit of inspiration from somebody in the family and thought, do you know what, I want to give that a try?
No, in fact, in my family and my wider family, nobody had pursued a legal career.
Wow.
No lawyers, and so it was something that was quite new to me. But the opportunity was there, and when I was at school, I was very keen to leave after fifth year. Age 17, I just wanted to. I'd set my mind that I'm going to go to university. I was off. And for me, staying on to sixth year, which pretty much everybody else in my year group did, for me, I just felt that was like a bit of a waste of time. I wanted to get on with things, get things done. I knew I was wanting to go to university. And so I did that age 17 after fifth year, and the opportunity to study law was there. And I thought, look, even if I don't go on to become a lawyer, it's just a good degree to have. A law degree, it's versatile, it's good for business. It's going to develop a whole bunch of skills. So that's the kind of approach that I took at that time. And as I took those initial steps, the roadmap for pursuing a legal career just opened up more and more.
And it certainly did, because you then have an opportunity to be a lawyer in Dubai of all places. How did that come around?
Yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a lead up to that happening. So initially, I had to obviously become a lawyer in Scotland.
Yep.
And go through the process of qualifying, and that involved, studying law and obtaining my law degree. But I always wanted to kind of be a step ahead in whatever I'm doing. So while I was at university, I found a part-time job at a medium-sized law firm, and I was employed there. And that supplemented my legal education. I was drafting documents, liaising with clients, I think from the second year of university onwards. And then later on, I took on another job with one of the big telecommunications companies. They're still around, O2.
Oh, right.
And at that time, they were part of the Telefonica group, so massive. And the role that I was doing there, I was like technical support, just a part-time job while I was at university. And then I actually sent an email to the CEO of that company. Next day I was pulled in for a meeting. I thought, oh no, I'm in trouble. And the supervisor, she came over to me and she's like, Yousif, we'd like a wee word about this email that you've sent to Ronan, and the CEO of this, huge, massive international company. And it turns out like they actually wanted to support the endeavour.
Wow.
I had sent an email just saying, look, might it be possible to get some legal work experience? I'm here, I'm working away, things are going well, but this is the career path that I'm kind of mapping out.
Yep.
Can you guys support me in this? And so that just happened, and it came about, and then suddenly I'm off to London to do a secondment with the in-house legal team of this, global telecommunications company. So early on in my career, that must have been like third year university. So again, just great to get that experience. And then I think it was either my third or the fourth year at university, then started applying for jobs, traineeships as they're called, which you need in order to qualify as a lawyer. And again, I managed to land that as well. And the big firms, big commercial firms, they recruit like I think 2 years in advance.
Oh, right, okay.
So I managed to get that under my belt, and then I trained and qualified at one of the premier top tier commercial law firms in Scotland. And undertook like a variety of, it's called seats, and that's basically different departments or areas of law. So then I worked in property, real estate, and then corporate, then dispute resolution, then third sector. So really a great variety of legal work, fantastic training. And then after that, I decided that was corporate commercial work.
Mm-hmm.
And that was good, and top end corporate commercial work, so brilliant for my legal development. But then I thought, look, I want to try something a bit different here. I want to be a bit different, and I became a prosecutor for a while. So I got a job with the Crown Office, and I became a prosecutor, and that's switching from corporate commercial law to criminal law, something entirely new, something different.
Yep.
What I felt at the time was like, look, this is going to really hone my skills and my skill set in a very different way, because a courtroom is one of the most formal environments that you can be in.
Yep.
And to have a skill of, for example, acquiring a brief and studying it, examining it, and then being able to articulate your position persuasively and compellingly to a judge, that's a great business skill. And so that's what I was kind of doing there. And I thought, look, would be excellent to develop those legal skills and business skills in general. So I did that for a while, before then moving into private practice, focusing initially on property work, real estate, and then it became a bit more broad into like commercial work in general. And then that's when
this is when then
Dubai happened after that. Yeah.
So what was that like making that transition from the UK to Dubai? What was your kind of first impression of it? And did you know anyone out there at the time that was doing this sort of thing or taking that leap? Or was this just completely fresh for you?
So the opportunity kind of presented itself, and the way it came about was I was selected to take part in a trade mission to the Middle East, which had been organised by an agency of the Scottish Government. They were taking a bunch of delegates from different industries and sectors to the Middle East to foster trade ties, explore opportunities, etc. I was the only one there from a legal background. And at that time, I was kind of exploring, broadening my horizons and, moving and working overseas. So prior to the trade mission, I'd looked into perhaps opening up an office there. And the trade mission for me was an opportunity to kind of look at all the research that I've done, the plan that I've got for doing that. And it was brilliant. It was like 2-week full on itinerary of events, meeting with business people, local government officials, and, superb in every respect. And as part of that, there was a meeting that was set up for the delegates with a legal advisor on the ground. Now, for me going into that meeting, I just wanted confirmation that everything that I had looked at and my plan checks out, and that I can do this, and I can set up my office in Dubai. And yeah, I met with the chap. Now, it just so happened that the legal advisor was actually the founder of a law firm that came along, and he wasn't supposed to be there. It was supposed to be somebody else. They couldn't make it. The next person couldn't fill in. So the founder came along and got chatting to him. And I said to him, look, this is what I've been doing. This is what I'm thinking. This is my plan. This is how I want to go about it. I want to make this happen. All I need for you is, can I do this? Mm-hmm. Does this make sense to you? And he kind of was hearing what I was saying and looking at these things. And he said, you know what? He's like, yeah, you can. And, all of it sounds great. But how about you just scrap that and come and work for me instead?
Wow.
And that's how...
Was that from just one conversation?
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's how the opportunity kind of just presented itself. So I came back to Scotland. I spoke with the managing partner of the firm that I was working with then. I told her, there's been an approach here, and what do you think? And she said, look, I'm going to make it really easy for you. I'm going to tell you to go, and the door's always open with us.
Yep.
So then it became like a no-brainer, and then I went through the process with them, and I was offered the job, and that's how I went over initially, as a senior legal consultant at a commercial law firm in Dubai.
Wow.
And yeah. So yeah, that's how it was for me.
And not many people can say that, though. Not many people can say that they've obviously had that experience with it. But I imagine that with this experience comes the challenges. Was there any challenges that you felt, maybe obviously maybe a language barrier or anything that comes along with it? Certain things that you've been practicing for that maybe weren't in place in Dubai? I'm not too sure how it's obviously ran. So what was the kind of challenges you felt that you faced?
It's a great question. And for me, in terms of the language barrier, didn't really have any issues there as such, because English is so widely spoken. It's arguably the language
Yeah, most popular language in the world. Yeah,
in the world and of that country as well. Albeit Arabic is the indigenous language; it's the country's mother tongue.
Of course.
But English is pretty much the language for doing business, and so there was no real issues there. Challenge wise, just getting used to the heat. You know, the searing heat.
That must have taken a wee bit of time.
No doubt.
Especially come from Scotland and the UK.
Yeah, and moving in the summertime as well.
And it's
the heat of summer. So that was took a bit of getting used to. But apart from that, like, it was something that I kind of took in my stride. I kind of knew what to expect, and it was a commercial firm that I was joining at the time, so I knew what the work would be like, and what the expectations were. So yeah, I just kind of took it in my stride.
You're also sitting there about expectations. I think it would be quite good to break down what a day-to-day would have been like for you over there at the time. So could you do that for us and just break down what exactly a day-to-day operation would be like for yourself?
Yeah, so working as a commercial lawyer in Dubai, it's long days, typically. And so the day might begin at like 6 a.m. You're getting ready. And when I joined the firm that I was working with, the working day started at 8:30 a.m. You needed to be there at your desk, ready to go at 8:30. And the working day finished at 6 p.m. That's quite a long day.
Quite a long day.
Yeah. And so you're at your desk 8:30 and it's all go from there. So you're replying to emails, you're looking at new matters coming in, existing casework, and it's juggling. You're constantly juggling a heavy caseload of work, and you need to be able to work at pace and get through the work. That's one side of it. But in addition to that, there's also meetings throughout the day that you're going to be having with existing clients in respect of the work that you're doing. And then also potentially new clients as well, who have approached, and you're meeting with them to see how you might be able to assist and giving them some initial advice on whatever issues that they're coming to see about. So a lot of meetings throughout the day. Breaks are few and far between, I guess. But I kind of made a point to take the breaks because I think that's important.
Definitely.
Albeit in my line of work as a lawyer, I don't know, for some reason, there is this tendency for lawyers to like work through lunch breaks and just constantly be on the go. Anyway, the place that I was working at, they had a swimming pool in the office.
Not many workplaces can say that.
And a lovely outdoor swimming pool, might I add.
Brilliant. That must have been good in the heat.
Poolside cabanas and...
Sorry, did you say you worked?
And so that's why it was important to, make the most out of the lunch break.
Yes. Well, that must have been good though, because I imagine being where you were in a location like Dubai, you must have come across some very interesting or kind of high-profiled clientele. Is there any that you could maybe tell us about? Or because I imagine when you rock up to a lawyer's firm and there happens to be a pool outside, I imagine you will be greeted with some high-profile characters there.
It's a different world, it really is. And there's high net worths and there's what's known as ultra high net worths in Dubai, people with a lot of wealth and money. And of course, these are people that need legal services. So yeah, you meet a lot of interesting people. That goes without saying. And yeah, it's good though, because you're meeting people that you perhaps otherwise wouldn't have met if you weren't there.
Yep.
So yeah, it's good.
Brilliant. And with that as well, obviously with the business side of it now, I imagine the lawyer firm would have been quite well known or established as such. How did you find it when it came to networking and meeting new clientele and getting in clientele? Like, how did that go around? Like, how did that work out? Sorry.
Yeah, well, the founder who I met initially and who kind of brought me to the firm, we had kind of similar outlooks in terms of networking, getting out there, meeting people, developing a rapport with people. Because ultimately, like we find that, business, it's to a large extent, it's all about trust. And especially as a lawyer, trust is first and foremost. fostering that with clients, and it needs to be a strong bond that's there between lawyer and client. So networking is a big part of that. Getting out there, meeting people, developing that rapport, and following up with them, taking a genuine, keen interest in them and what they're doing, and being there to assist them as and when they need. And it might be like an initial little piece of advice that they're looking for. And the approach that I took was like, you always give that helping hand, and then they're going to remember it, and they'll come back later, and they might have more substantial work. And so yeah, and in Dubai there's networking events happening all the time, and so it's generally pretty encouraged for folk to attend networking events as much as possible. And the fact that they're in like top end hotels, and
I was just about to say, I imagine it'll be different to what it is over this.
Yeah, I mean that's just a bonus, I suppose.
The only thing is they don't get a good role, you know what I mean, at their networking events, I'd imagine. So it can be a bit of the Scottish roles.
Oh dear, yeah.
One thing I did want to chat about, because we mentioned it within the introduction for yourself. What was it with being in Dubai and working for the firm at the time that helped you learn about being resilient and obviously being like adaptable in the growth in yourself? Like, what was the kind of points do you think that, that really helped all these certain things?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the firm that I was working at, it wasn't like one of the large, they're sometimes referred to as magic circle firms, big London firms, international offices in all the major financial centres. It wasn't that. It was more a kind of medium-sized firm. And so you're competing like with, those bigger firms. And that's where, you really need to be top of your game, putting yourself out there. And I remember coining a wee phrase amongst my colleagues there at the time. And it was, look, guys, we are small enough to care, big enough to matter.
Like that.
Small enough to care, big enough to matter. Because it was a medium-sized firm, and typically with the smaller medium-sized firms, you're going to generally have more closer relationships with your clients.
Yes.
Rather than, big corporates where clients might just be a number. So it's touching into that. And it's also touching into the fact that, we're involved in some really high profile pieces of work. So we're big enough to matter because we're at that top level as well. So yeah, that maybe ties in with the resilience, adapting. Yeah.
Well, even your growth as well, because I mean, you then went on to establish your own independent legal practice. Can you tell us a wee bit more about that?
Yeah, so initially, as I mentioned, I was working at a law firm, and that's how I kind of went to Dubai as an employee. And I did that initially for a while, and I just began to get itchy feet. And I thought, look, I could maybe be doing this, and there's maybe a few tweaks and changes that I could make. And, and I was perhaps encouraged by some of the people around me as well that, look, this is something that you could do, and, people will support you and back you. And there's people out there that want to work with you as their lawyer. So you're not going to be like short of work as such. And it just got me thinking at the time, with all these kind of long days, long hours, I'm tired all the time. And, I'm like, sometimes I felt like a bit of a hamster on a hamster wheel.
Just constantly chasing the next thing. And
that's it, yeah. So I thought maybe it's time to hang my own shingle. And then I set up my own independent legal practice. And
that was still within the Middle East as well.
Yeah. And I was one of only a handful of lawyers from Scotland to have done that. Like I personally could count on one hand the number of lawyers that I know from Scotland to have done that. So it's...
Have you seen an uptake in that recently? Maybe over the years?
Really.
Nothing?
No, it's quite rare for Scottish lawyers in particular to set up um, their own legal practice
Mm-hmm.
out in the Middle East. So anyway, I kind of came within that and did it, and yeah, didn't look back, and that's when I kind of went full throttle in terms of the business side of things, and it was great.
Mm-hmm. So how does that go then with your kind of short and your long term plans? Then how does this all work out?
Yeah, so my short term plans at that time were to establish my practice, become a bit known out there in the market, and to establish a client base. And achieved that pretty quickly with a good, loyal set of clients. I mean, the goal was not volume, it was not to have tons of clients on the books, but I wanted like a good core set. And so I got that pretty early on. Um, and a lot of it came from like word of mouth. So clients that I'm working with, and then they would refer people that they know to me, and so on. And with that, then my practice became sustainable, viable, profitable, and that was great. Now, my long term vision with having my own practice was always to be in a position where I could split my time between Dubai and my home in Scotland. And I was always that was always in the back of my mind, and that's what I wanted to achieve and work towards, the best of both worlds.
Did you ever get any opportunities to come back to the UK to be part of a firm or to bring your own practice over here?
Yeah, well, those opportunities were there, but it was not appealing to me because I had set up my own practice, and that's what I wanted to develop, and it was going so well. So there was no real need to consider, working at other firms as such. Now, one of the really good aspects of my practice was that it provides services to law firms. So law firms would engage me as a consultant, where I would work on their caseload and their matters, but they don't need to incur everything that's involved with taking on an employee. It's like a win-win. So I have like a bunch of law firms that I'm appointed as a consultant.
Okay.
And that for me is a perfect scenario, because not only does it allow me to work with and maintain my own client base, but then I also have an affiliation with several law firms as well. So that's how it kind of developed. And eventually then it led up to being able to, you know, for me to have it how I wanted in terms of splitting my time between Dubai and Scotland. And that was it. That was perfect. Just one other thing I might add. When I set up my practice there, my plan was always to be a bit location independent. I wanted to be able to work where I want, when I want, how I want.
Yes.
And this was pre-pandemic. And then pandemic happened, lockdown happened, and then everybody was kind of looking at that model of like working from home that, became the norm. Suddenly everybody realized like don't necessarily need to work from an office.
Yep.
Can work from anywhere. But I had set up my practice like that, in that model, in that shape, prior to the pandemic. So it was curious to me as well, and it's quite good because I was like, yeah, I kind of got that right, that I could do it that way. Then it became the norm for a while.
And do you feel that's been beneficial to you now by putting the things in place?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got that freedom and independence to do exactly that, work where I want, when I want, and how I want. That having that independence is brilliant.
Brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. Obviously, you're achieving your long term plan now. You're obviously dividing your time between Dubai and Scotland. And I think the thing that we need to touch on now is, of course, your time in Scotland, that you're here more frequently, is how the idea of Tots United came to be.
Yeah, so
Because it's totally different from what you've been doing. So how did the idea of Tots United come to be?
Yeah, it sure is. So just before we created Tots United, I was spending a bit more time in Scotland. I was more physically on the ground here, and that had started to happen. And just on one of my trips here, just my business partner AJ kind of mentioned it to me. Look, there could be an idea here because there's nothing in the local community, and so we kind of looked at it a bit more, researched things, and considered it a bit carefully, and then we determined, yeah, there's a gap here. There's something missing in our local community, and so we noticed that, and we thought, yeah, maybe we could like do something here. And it's going back to what me and AJ have always been passionate about, which is football. And to carve out a business, a line of work in sport, I mean, that was hugely appealing.
A no-brainer, really.
A no-brainer, yeah. And so initially we thought, we'd give it a go. And as soon as we did, we set everything up. It just rocketed, I guess. And suddenly it took over everything we were doing.
Well, that is the thing. So when you were first starting these the Tots classes, what was that like? And then obviously, how did it grow from there to what it is now?
Yeah, I mean, when we announced that we were starting like our first class, I remember it well, and the inquiries, just the phone lines were off the hook. I'm getting inquiries right, left, and centre. Classes were like maxed out from the beginning.
Wow.
And we got off to such a great start with that. And I think it just kind of snowballed. It happened like organically, but very quickly. And we ended up expanding to new locations so quick as well, like much sooner than anticipated or expected. We thought, maybe we'll add a second location in our first year of starting Tots United. We ended up having 4 locations within the first year.
What was the point of the business where you thought the idea that we have is more than an idea? Was it the expansion? Was it the phone calls from the parents? Was it the constant emails? What point did you think Tots United is more than what we've ever imagined it would be?
Very quickly, within months, I mean, just being at the classes, we saw how much the children are loving this, the parents, how it's bringing them together, how they're having such a good time with their children, all the skills that the children are, picking up, developing, just the fun that they're having. We kind of got to see that very early on, that, look, there's huge demand here. And especially for Tots United, the way we had set things up with our ethos and philosophy of care and love, these being acronyms for the values that our classes inspire in children. The fact that it's all about fun and engaging classes, all of that, it comes through at Tots United, and it makes it a bit unique.
It certainly does, because not only have you now brought something for the communities around local areas within Scotland, you've also hit massive milestones and achievements as well. You know what I mean? You guys are now award-winning classes, which is fantastic to hear. You know what I mean? From just a simple idea of two blokes coming together, having a chit chat regarding an idea, and now you're an award-winning established business. What is some of the awards that you have won? For those that are watching, you will see we have one here on the table. I know you'll go into a wee bit more detail on it, but even just even a couple off the top of your head of some awards, things that Tots United have won.
Yeah, so I mean, that was a huge milestone for us to become an award-winning provider of fun and engaging sports classes, and what a testament to the amazing work that our team has done in communities in the west of Scotland. And to receive that recognition, it was quite something, and we were so proud of it. So yeah, we the award that we got was most promising business, and that was at an event that was hosted by the Renfrewshire Chamber of Commerce. And just to put things into a bit of perspective, some of the shortlisted companies there included Rolls-Royce, the Malcolm Group, Scottish Leather Group, the massive accountancy firm Azets, just to name but a few.
Very established businesses.
Very established, big names, and Tots United is in amongst them. So for us, just being there was winning. And then to actually then receive an award on the night was just out of this world. And what a night that was, I can tell you.
Well, I was going to say, you must have felt very proud in both of yourself and AJ, your business partner, to go from, as I say, this idea to now an award-winning, competing with establishing businesses and really cementing yourself within not only the Renfrewshire area, but also areas out with that you guys are the premium now for kids classes as well, because we obviously have the Tots United football side, but we also have the gymnastics as well, and I know that you'll have obviously expansions there galore as well. And one thing that you guys have done really well is you've tapped into franchising, which did you think at any point was that would have came around?
We didn't expect for franchising to happen so soon after setting up Tots United, but given our own success with the club and how it had grown and expanded so quickly for us, we thought, look, this could actually be a genuine prospect for us with franchising. And so pretty much just 2 years after setting up Tots United, we thought, look, let's just maybe look at this. And we put some information out on our channels that we were going to take expressions of interest just to start like a conversation, a dialogue for anyone who might be interested in. And the moment we did that, we got our first inquiry and we signed our first franchisee so soon after that initial announcement. And then he was up and running by the end of that month. And that was just in September. So we announced it in August. Yeah, we announced it in August.
Wow.
And then September, we signed the first franchisee, and he was up and running by the end of September. So quick. And then since then, he's just got off to such a flying start, doing so well. The model works, and he is now going to be starting his third location in May.
Wow.
So his first location is, class are brilliant, maxed out. Second location, brilliant. And now he's going to be starting a third location in May. So,
and that is something.
Yeah. So it's a proven success story right there of the Tots United franchise proposition. And he's doing so well, and we're so happy for him, so pleased. And he's got a brilliant business generating good revenues every month. And that's brilliant for him.
And I guess with this sort of stuff, obviously yourself being a lawyer and things, do you feel that this gives you a bit more time as well, or does it help with separating your time as such? Because what we've kind of gathered is with your career within being a lawyer was that you wanted more time to yourself. You didn't want to work those long days and those long hours. Did you feel like that kind of gives you the balance as well?
It gives you the flexibility in terms of you can determine your working routine. So that definitely helps. We're not kind of living day to day, having to be at an office by 9 a.m, waiting for the clock to hit 5, 6 p.m, whatever. So we're fortunate that we don't have that routine, and we've got the flexibility. So it does help. Having said that, the nature of our work at Tots United is constantly on the go. Tots United is operating 7 days a week now to meet the demand for us, our classes, and there's a lot of time involved in that and ensuring that everything runs so smoothly and to the standards that we need it to run. not just football now. We've got a gymnastics program now. We've also got a franchising arm as well. So everything is now running pretty intensely, 7 days a week. And in addition to that, I've still got my legal work as well. So clients are reaching out to me all the time, and I'm at a point now where I'm like picking and choosing the work that I take on.
Yep.
And I have to be selective of the work that I take on because there's not enough hours in the day, and I don't know. It's just it's a challenge juggling and managing it all. But just to give you a little example, like aside from Tots United, really one kind of interesting piece of legal work that I did recently was for Donner Shack.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is a global restaurant chain.
Yep.
Started in the UK, and they've kind of expanded to all corners of the world now. And I recently advised and assisted them with their internationalization and market entry into Dubai and the UAE. So that was like a huge thing for me to be involved in, such a privilege. Company of that stature.
Yep.
Global restaurant chain. And yeah, so that's a piece of work that I took on. I wanted to be part of it, and managed to do that alongside the day-to-day of Tots United.
And it's like that. That's fantastic. Obviously, it's such a high client. You know what I mean? High profile client. Because they are expanding. Even I've noticed it as well. There's quite a lot of them now around, especially, but they're in quite well established places as well. So that's fantastic. One thing we didn't touch on was this lovely award here, though. We kind of skipped over this. So what is this fantastic award that we've won in front of us here?
Yeah, so this is an award that I received very recently, and it's Legal Counsel of the Year for UK UAE. So I think it recognises my practice, which is multi-jurisdictional. It's cross-border. It's between UK and the UAE. And a good example of that, I suppose, is the work that I did for Donner Shack, with advising and assisting them with their market entry into Dubai and the UAE. So yeah, it's really nice to have received this from Corporate International. And
it's obviously proof of the work that you're doing out with, you know what I mean, your Tots and the practice as well. So, you know what I mean, it's really showcasing like what you're doing is amazing work. One thing I wanted to touch on was just anybody watching this and maybe in the same position as yourself, or thinking of getting into becoming a lawyer, and maybe even thinking about working internationally. Was there any big takeaways from that? But like working internationally, do you feel like it's helped you in your personal growth, and maybe taking that step from some people that maybe would just try and be restrictive of being maybe just working constantly within the UK? Do you think there's a benefit to going international?
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like we're living in an increasingly globalized world, and the world is within reach now. And just drawing on my own experience, taking your career internationally, it just opens so many doors, broadens your horizons. It's a great thing to do. And, you know, for me, when I moved to Dubai and I took my career there and developed my career from there, so many opportunities came from that, and folk that I met that I otherwise wouldn't have, deals that I worked on that I otherwise wouldn't have. Incredible pieces of work. Just share a couple of examples with you, in fact, Curtis, because I think it could be good to mention them. One of which was I was lead counsel for a major UK PLC, a group company of a major UK PLC, one of the largest importers of Asian foods in the UK. And my role as lead counsel was to advise on and assist with the novation of a suite of international supplier contracts, all as part of a significant M&A transaction, which had a deal value of £210 million.
Wow.
So I led that on the Dubai side, and to be involved in a deal of that kind of magnitude was incredible. But that was only made possible because I was there in Dubai practicing as a lawyer there, and what an honor and a privilege it was. And that was a great experience. And then in another one, I acted for what's known as ultra high net worth sellers. So people like with incredible levels of wealth. They're called ultra high net worth.
Something we could only ever dream of.
You never know.
No, that's it.
So yeah, I acted for them in the sale of what was the most expensive residential property deal in Dubai that particular year. So it was reported in press reports, and that's how I can talk about it as well. And the deal value there was 120 million dirhams, which at that time was about 20 million pounds.
Right, okay.
And it was recorded as the most expensive high value residential property deal in Dubai that year. And I led the work on that for the ultra high net worth sellers. I mean, that was amazing to be involved in that. But again, it's only because, I took my career there in that direction as an international lawyer, and that I was able to take on great pieces of work like that.
It just shows taking the leap. It can have its opportunities and its rewards as well. And I think, again, just for any kind of inspiring lawyers, would you have any piece of advice that you maybe has been given to you and has stuck with you, or anything at all that you've come across over the years you think this is something I would advise?
I'd say take every opportunity as much as you can. Put yourself out there. If things are not perhaps working out the way that you might like them to, then make things happen. Go out there and see how can I actually make this happen myself. Don't necessarily rely on others. Make it happen yourself and broaden your horizons. Because when you do these things, it's gonna give you thicker skin, and it's gonna lead to a lot of personal and professional growth. So that's maybe some advice that I would maybe give you.
Amazing. And well, what's next for you then? What's next? I mean, with your life, with your professional law and business career, what is next for Yousif?
I think the way things are going with Tots United, it's just growing exponentially, and we want to see, what lies ahead with that. The franchising side of things that we've recently, the franchising journey that we started on, that's hugely exciting. We're very keen to give as much support to our first franchisee as possible. He's doing so well. So there could be now scope for taking on another franchisee. In addition to that, we've just increased our venues as well recently. So we're now across over 20 locations and growing. So that's great. And we've got a trip coming up to the USA.
Fantastic.
So we're going to start maybe exploring what might be happening on the other side of the pond. And, could there be Tots United stateside? Who knows? But everything starts with an idea, a conversation. So we're gonna fly across to America and explore it. And yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe one day Tots United.
Well, I can imagine with
there.
the hard work and the dedication that both of you guys put into Tots United, that will be very achievable, very, very achievable, and probably sooner rather than later, I would imagine, because your classes are fantastic. What you do bring to the community is, again, fantastic. We see it firsthand from all the parents, but also the children involved in that as well. Yousif, this has been a fantastic interview. Very interesting to hear the life that you seem to keep very quiet about, because Tots United is, of course, your baby here in the UK. But it's very interesting to hear your professional career. And I think one thing we'd also like to do is, how can the people follow your journey?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm on some social media channels. To be fair, I'm not as active on social media as I perhaps ought to be. but I'm on LinkedIn, and Tots United has a Facebook page, it's Instagram as well. And so these are just some of the channels that people can connect with me on. Personally on LinkedIn, my YouTube channel, and with Tots United, Facebook and Instagram is there. So yeah.
And for anybody watching this interested in the franchising opportunity, would there be an email that would be best to contact on?
Yeah, so it's just franchise at totsutd.co.uk. And that's the email address for anybody who's thinking, a Tots United franchise might appeal to them. That would be the email address for them. We do have some information on our social media channels about our franchising proposition, what makes it so special and unique, because we do feel that it's different. It's arguably a market leading franchise opportunity for folk. And we're very particular as to who we work with. And on that side of things. And that information is available on our social media. I think we're going to continue putting out information about it as well. So, yeah.
Definitely. I can see Tots United growing and growing and growing. So they will be, as we say, the premier place for all children, whether that be football, gymnastics, or probably in the future, I would imagine some other sports that maybe we could discuss at a later date. But this has been absolutely amazing. And that is a wrap on today's episode. Thank you very much, Yousif, for joining us and sharing your amazing story from Scotland to Dubai. I mean, from law to entrepreneurship. You have pretty much covered everything. And your story is an inspiring one as well for those to take the leap into the next step and to grab every opportunity that they may have in front of them, because some people tend to overlook it, whereas everything that comes through could be an opportunity indeed. So if you've enjoyed this conversation, then please make sure to like, share and subscribe to this YouTube channel. There's plenty more to come, and I'm sure you'll hear from Yousif and, of course, his business partner, AJ, in the future. You won't want to miss what's next, and until then, stay inspired, stay ambitious, and we'll see you in the next one.